Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Teams Voice and Collaboration Q&A. I'll be your host, Tony Caporaletti. We'll just give it a couple more minutes for everybody to join in, but hope you guys are having a good day so far. We'll get started in probably, let's give it 2 minutes, just to let people get logged in. I figured I'd use the background of the snowy mountains today because it is a pretty cold and snowy day here in southern Ontario. So that was very appropriate. And the sky is very similar. In the background, you might hear my colleague, Stephanie Baskerville from the marketing department. She's going to be helping me facilitate some of these questions this afternoon. So if you hear somebody, that will be her.
Hi, everyone.
My trusted advisor.
That's nice. Thanks, Tony. I think we can get started. Yeah, let's just jump into it.
Excellent. So welcome again, everybody. Teams Voice and Collaboration Q&A. I'm your host, Tony Caporaletti. I am a solutions architect here at ProServeIT, the host of this event, Empower2021. My role as a solutions architect is a couple different things. I mostly interact with customers and our sales team and even our technical team. I'm using it mostly as a pre-sales resource. So I talk to customers. I actually help solution many different products around the Microsoft stack. More recently, I've been focused on Microsoft Teams, which is why I'm doing this session today. I've been doing a lot of work around the collaboration side, and even Teams Voice became a really big project for a lot of customers, especially in the nonprofit space this year, because a lot of companies are starting to move away from old phone systems and wanting to get into something new, voice over IP related. And if you're already using Microsoft Teams, it's an easy transition if you're already using Teams or Skype for Business. So I've been getting a lot of questions for the last year or so, and I just felt that, or we felt that it would be a good opportunity to allow you guys to pick my brain and to ask questions around Teams, and I will try to answer them. If I can't answer them right on this session, what we'll do is we'll have you either send me an email directly or an email to one of our distribution groups, and then it'll get to the right people, and we'll answer it that way, if that's okay. So with that being said, let's get right to it. If you guys have any questions, please post them into the Teams session chat board. There should be a question and answer section there for you to post your questions, and then Stephanie will publish them.
And we do have a couple here already, or at least one for sure.
Okay.
We've got James asking, what is the most cost-effective way for nonprofits to leverage Teams phone system or voice to minimize costs?
What's the most cost-effective way?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it depends really. When you think about using Teams Voice, there's two ways to use it. One is that Microsoft ends up being your carrier and the one who manages your phone numbers and your calling minutes per user. The other way to use it is through a third-party carrier. So in Canada, that might be somebody like Rogers or ThinkTel, Bell, Telus, something like that. And one of those carriers would have the ability to provide a SIP service. And that SIP service would tie directly into Teams. And so usually, to keep it simple, direct routing, that service is called direct routing when you use a third-party carrier. And it starts to make sense financially when you get over and above 75 to 100 users on average in the organization who's using the phone system. So either way, it works just as well. The difference is that the monthly subscription costs from Microsoft change slightly if you use them as the carrier, because you're required to have a calling plan associated with your account. Whereas if you use a third-party carrier and direct routing, there's no need for that calling plan because the carrier is going to provide you the numbers, the DIDs, and the minutes that are associated with each user or each DID for that matter. So that's not necessarily required. The other, while we're talking about licensing and costs, the other important thing when you're using the phone system is that you need at least one license to use the phone system, and that's called the phone system license. And each user that wants to make a phone call out to the PSTN world has to have that phone system license associated with their account. And then once you have that phone system license, you are then entitled to a DID number, whether that DID number is from Microsoft or it's from whatever carrier it is that you're assigned. Hopefully that answers your question. Did I answer all of that there, Steph?
I think so. James, if you have another follow-up question, you can certainly post it into the chat there. We have a question here from somebody asking if verbal answers to the questions will be posted somewhere. Yes, they will be. We will follow up after the session with responses to the most frequently asked questions here, so no worries there. Folks, again, that the Q&A session is open, or sorry, Q&A tab is open. That's the word I'm looking for. So please feel free to add those questions in there. We do have a question coming in, and I think it's probably around sort of similar to what you just chatted with, the difference between direct routing and Microsoft calling plan. If you can maybe address those. Yeah,
I'll try to elaborate a little more if I can. So direct routing just means that there's another carrier, a third-party carrier like Rogers, Telus, Bell, providing you with phone numbers and minutes to dial out. And so we have to take that service, which they're providing a SIP service, which is abbreviated Session Initiation Protocol. They're providing that service, which we will connect into, or you can connect into the Microsoft Teams PBX. And then the Teams PBX is what manages all of your call flows, your queues, your hunt groups, and such. Microsoft calling, again, which is the other side of the calling solution, is where Microsoft is your carrier, and they provide you with DIDs and minutes associated with each user account. Okay, and to be able to dial out to the PSTN, you need certain licenses to be able to do that. And it's available on a per license SKU basis, which is like the phone system. There's audio conferencing, and then the third one is a calling plan. Okay, and you need a calling plan if you're going to use Microsoft as your carrier. You don't need a calling plan if you're going to use direct routing. Okay, hopefully that simplifies it a little bit.
Awesome. We have a question here. When an employee leaves the organization, how do you share their Microsoft phone and/or VM with the manager?
How do you share? Oh, that's more of a technical question to doing it. It is possible. So that number, what happens is that when that person leaves, that number is either removed from their account, or it's either removed from their account, or it stays on that account for a period of time until which time you want to remove the licenses from it and then get access. So you either have to go and download the voicemail that person has to a separate share of some sort, or you can give the manager or whatever access to that user account where they can go and listen and view the content within that user account. I think that's what you were asking, but actually doing it, I don't have the ability to show you to do it at the moment, but it is possible. It's more or less just giving permission to that user account from the manager account to be able to do it. Hopefully that works for the moment.
Awesome. And David, if there's a follow-up question to that, you can certainly feel free to ask that in as well. All right, we've got some. It seems like we've got a few shy people on the line here, Tony. So I'm just going to kind of pop in a question here.
Sure.
What are the licensing requirements for Microsoft Teams Voice?
Good question, and it's a question that I get a lot from users, and it's sometimes confusing. So again, to use Microsoft Calling, if Microsoft is your carrier, you need a phone system license. You need either an audio conferencing license if you're going to schedule conference calls with external parties who don't have Microsoft Teams and they want a phone number to dial into. I think it maybe even be good for me to show you what this looks like. But while I'm pulling that up, I will explain this. Bear with me for 1 second. Yeah, so I don't know if you can see my screen. Let me see if I can publish it here quick, or maybe Steph, you want to help me?
Yep, I can do that. If you share your screen, I can send it live.
Okay, share. Okay.
All right. Sending live now.
Okay. I think I already, yes, I already got taken off. So if we look down here, when you have the audio conferencing license, you'll see this when you create a Teams meeting, okay? So you'll get the link, which anybody internally can join by clicking on the link if you're on a laptop or even a cell phone for that matter. Or, you might have external numbers associated with the account, like a 604 number or 647, 416, depending on whatever region you're in, you can assign those local codes to that user account so that external parties can dial in, okay? So that's the audio conferencing portion of it. If you're wanting to dial out, you need a phone system license. And then secondly, if you're using calling plans, you'll need a calling plan SKU. Now, the default calling plan per user is 3,000 minutes per month, okay? Per user per month. And then those minutes can be pooled with other users in the organization who are in the same region. So if I had 10 users in Toronto, for example, and all of those users have the same calling plan, 3,000 minutes times 10. So now we've got 30,000 minutes to share amongst those 10 users, okay? And that goes on a per month basis. There is a calling plan that's less, that's like a really starter plan. It's like 120 minutes per month, but maybe some users don't use the phone that often and they just need 120 minutes. And again, those minutes can be pooled with other users with the same calling plan SKU as well. I think I answered all of them for that.
Awesome. We do have some other questions coming in here. So what data points will be captured on incoming calls, time to answer, voicemail versus pickup, routing, etc.? Is this information stored in a structured database for reporting and tracing trends? And you may want to just look at the chat just to get all that there. Carolyn's asking that one.
Okay, so what data points will be captured on incoming calls, time to answer, voicemail versus pickup, routing? Yeah, so it's a good question. A lot of this information, I won't say all of it, is available in Microsoft Teams Call Quality Dashboard, okay? Not all of it. It gives you some data to report on, but if you're looking for more contact center type requirements, then you might need a third-party add-on piece of software to bolt onto Microsoft Teams. And there are several companies that offer this service, and I've worked with a couple of them, and they're good. But if you want like kind of pretty strict reporting around Microsoft Teams and stuff like that, it may not be available yet. But what I've seen over the past year or so is that the call quality dashboard has gotten a lot better, and there's more features being enabled all the time, because Microsoft realizes that people want this data and want to be able to report on it. And I assume what's going to happen too in the next year or so is that they're going to start bringing in more features around the contact center, so that users don't have to go to a third-party service to do basic content type functionality. So hopefully that answered your question, Carolyn. If not, please let me know.
And we have Bob's question underneath that. With the increasing use of the digital technology like Teams, where we can use phone or video options, what are the benefits with using the Teams voice, which seems more mobile or landline oriented?
Okay, just read that real quick again. So what are the benefits of using Teams voice? Yeah, I guess the idea that it is a voice over IP system, right? The fact that you're not tied to a desk anymore, you pretty much can work anywhere. We're all pretty much working from home now, and so Teams for me is my phone system with ProServeIT. So our corporate phone system is Microsoft Teams. My number travels with me wherever I go. As long as I have internet access, I can dial out. And the great thing is that now with cell phones, I've got the Teams app on my cell phone, and anytime I go anywhere, even if I have an LTE connection or a cellular connection, and the Teams mobile app is working, I can dial out from my corporate phone number, to wherever. And it's the same. It's pretty much the same experience as it is on my laptop or desktop, and I can transfer calls, to and from my mobile device or my laptop, depending on where I'm at. Sometimes if I might be on my laptop and I want to jump in the car, I'll get my phone ready, my Bluetooth headphones, and I'll transfer it and get in the car and go, and off I go. So yeah, I think from that standpoint, it's really convenient, is what it comes down to. Teams is really convenient. And again, if you're already a Microsoft shop and even using Teams or Skype for Business from before, it's going to be a really smooth transition for you for the most part. And it's a pretty easily adoptable platform from a user perspective. Hopefully that answered, Bob.
So I think maybe sort of to go along with that question, maybe we can talk a little bit about some of the collaboration capabilities of Teams and sort of Teams voice and things like that to sort of sure. might include the benefits of using Teams voice, right? Yeah,
that's a good point. So as you may or may not know, right, Teams is obviously more than just a phone system. The phone system is kind of been like the last feature to turn on within Teams. But what's happened, I guess, with COVID is that a lot of companies were not necessarily planning to use Teams voice right away, but then they were forced to when they were forced to stay home and didn't really have a phone system to use. So a lot of companies are like, I need Teams voice now. But the fact of the matter is that Teams is an entire suite of a collaboration suite, right? You have the ability to do chatting. You have the ability to, calendaring, and most importantly, there's the ability to create specialized teams and channels within those teams to maybe manage different projects or project that you're working on. You can collaborate on different documentation. You can have separate chat streams for different channels. It's pretty comprehensive. And then with that being said, there's a number of applications, from the marketplace that are able to be integrated with Microsoft Teams now. And there's more and more coming, like every day, honestly. So The features that are being offered with Teams are expanding at a rapid basis. I can't even keep up, to be fair. There's so many, and what I see happening in the next year or two is it's just going to explode. The use of Teams has already exploded in the past year because of what we've all been through. Did I answer your question, Steph? Would you like me to
I think so.
expand on anything?
Yeah, if you'd like to kind of maybe, I was thinking more about like if you're on a call with somebody and then, you want to share a document together, like there's, all that kind of capability does exist within the Teams platform.
Yeah.
So I think you kind of chatted about that already. I'm just, waiting to see if there's any other questions coming in at this particular point. But if you wanted to, kind of demonstrate maybe or something, oh wait, we got a question. Hang on.
Okay.
All right, we do have. I'm going to publish this one here.
Okay.
So it's James here. If you get a cheap 4G, do you need on-prem of cloud phone system? Would you advise not to use Teams Voice?
Yeah,
and there's a couple things there. Clarification. Yeah.
Unlimited calls and text. James, this question, so James has asked, if you get cheap 4G, do you need on-prem or cloud phone system? He's asking if I would advise, if you get Teams Voice, if you have, BYOD 4G at $5 a month. So $5 a month is pretty cheap. That's a cell phone plan, right? Likely unlimited calls and text. It really comes down to, this is my opinion, right? It comes down to what kind of experience you want to have your end users. What kind of, how do you want to present your business to your customers or partners, or whatever it is that you're doing business as. A corporate phone system may or may not be a better solution. I will say that Microsoft Teams is not going to be necessarily the cheapest solution out there. But again, I went over some of the benefits of having Teams Voice. And really it's about the collaboration that you get. If you're planning on using Microsoft Teams to do other things, then adding the Teams voice and voice capabilities is a great idea and almost a no-brainer in a lot of cases. So if you're paying $5 a month and that's working for you for a couple of users in your business, then I'd say that's probably good. But if you're going to start to use Microsoft Teams, for other things, for collaboration and such, then maybe turning on the phone system, because the upfront cost of turning on the phone system and enabling it, getting it working, is not all that expensive, from a business point of view. So, depending on the size of the business anyway. But the ROI on standing up a new voice system in Teams is pretty quick. Your return on investment is probably going to be less than a year or so. Hopefully that.
Awesome. We've got a question from Lisa. I'm just publishing it now here. Is it easy to switch from a voice call to a video call using Teams Voice? And Tony, I'm going to drop off the call shortly.
Sure.
Yep. But just to get to the next session here. But if you can answer that question and then maybe talk about some next steps, and then your session should wrap up. But thanks so much for having me, and it's been a pleasure, folks. Thanks.
Thank you, Steph. Appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thanks.
Yeah, so is it easy to switch from a voice call to a video call using Teams? Yes, it's very easy. So by default, it depends on the user. When you start up your Teams session on a call, you can have your camera enabled by default, or you can just have voice enabled, or you can have yourself completely muted. But it's really just the click of a button. I can just show you here quickly if I can find it. So let's share. And let's share this here. Okay, so essentially what you're seeing is my desktop here. Let's pull this up. Now this team session that you're going to see, this is different than what you'll normally see from a user session. But down here at the very bottom, you'll see a video and an audio button here. It's really just a matter of clicking one of these to turn on and off your video and or your microphone. in this case, but yours would probably be, it'll be up here in the top right-hand corner when you're using the platform. There'll be a video button and there'll be an audio button over here for you to click on and off to mute yourself. Hopefully that answered your question, Lisa. I'll stop sharing this for a minute. So we've got about 5 minutes left. If anybody has any further questions. Let's see here. I'm going to publish this one. I think that was just from James. Okay, so James, yeah, you said you did it with Skype for Business. Okay, very good. Yeah, so maybe I'll talk about that for a second. If you are transitioning from Skype for Business, maybe Skype for Business, you had it in the cloud already as a subscription, or maybe you had Skype for Business on premise. You had a server or servers on premise, and now you want to transition to Microsoft Teams because Microsoft said in 5 months or so that they're going to turn off the ability to use Skype for Business. So they're trying to force everybody over to Microsoft Teams. That transition is a little bit more delicate and takes a little bit more preparation to get it moved over in a seamless manner. So it is a cutover. It's still going to be a cutover because in the end, we still have to port numbers over, right? So we're going to be porting numbers over potentially from where you were today. You're either carrier who owns your phone numbers, and then you want to go to Microsoft Teams, and Microsoft can be your new carrier. So we have to port your numbers like any previous port order. We have to port them. It takes 1 to 2 weeks on average to do those port requests. So we go through a whole planning phase with you. If you engage with us, we go through a whole planning phase. We have to set up some coexistence settings within your on-prem infrastructure to connect to the Teams environment, make sure that things are working smoothly, and then we start to move users over slowly and phone numbers over slowly. That's just kind of a high-level overview about what that looks like. If you're moving from one carrier to the other and you have no ties to Microsoft Teams, it's a little bit easier. There's less prep work to do in this case. But yeah, it's generally, these engagements range between a week to 2 weeks generally. And I guess with that being said, we have a couple of offers that we're doing with customers. Either if you're just looking to try the phone system, we have some packaged offers to just stand up a couple users and get started. Really cheap, under $5,000 generally, Canadian dollars. And then if you're looking to do full phone system migrations, we've got some offers there as well. But usually those are more custom. But like I said, if you're not coming from Skype for Business on premise, these engagements run from 1 to 2 weeks typically on average. So I've heard customers talking before when they were changing phone systems, it was $20,000, $50,000 to stand up new phone systems. It's not really like that anymore unless you're a really large organization. It may get into some more complexity like that, but for the most part, it's a pretty easy transition from where you're at today. And the time, again, the ROI to transition to a new voice over IP phone system with Teams is pretty quick, and under a year, I'd say. Hopefully that helps you guys out. It's a pretty short session. I feel like we just started. We're already 30 minutes in, and it's 3:40 now. I'll ask another question. If anybody has any one last questions before we go. If not, I will, feel free to write us at cloud@proserveit.com and let them know that it's about Teams, and we'll make sure that it gets to me or gets to the appropriate person internally to answer your question. I appreciate you guys joining in today and spending some time. Hopefully this was helpful for you, and I hope you have a great rest of the day, and I hope you've had a great day so far at Empower 2021. So with that being said, I think we'll close it off now. I don't see any other questions coming in at the moment. Yes, thank you guys very much, and I will leave it there. Have a great day.